Hey friends and everyone, welcome back to Netcode-Hub channel. I am Frederick, as you know, and I'm happy to have you here today. I think this is the time that I have to take you through Automapper and DTOs. I've been working with this. If you've been watching my videos, I have been using Automapper and DTOs in many projects. And that is a time for me to just break it down for you to get a concept. If you know this already, then this is going to be a revision to you, isn't it? But if you don't know, then I'm going to cover a session on Automapper and DTOs. As you know, before we dive right into this, make sure you have subscribed to this channel, and also don't forget to click on that notification bell so you receive an update as soon as I do upload new content. You can also like this video to support this channel grow. I do offer coaching or mentoring session to people who are interested in .NET technologies, talking about Blazor, Server, WebAssembly, Maui, Blazor Hybrid, Web API. If you're interested, check this video description. I have an email there. You can write to me through it. Okay, so the first question here is, what is an Automapper? It's very simple. Automapper, it is an object-to-object mapper that simplifies the process of mapping complex object model to DTOs and other simpler objects. So, Automapper can help you to map complex object to simple objects. That's a DTO. Then the next question is, what is DTO? DTO, what it actually stands for is Data Transfer Objects. DTOs. Now, DTO serves as an intermediary in the world of software development. DTO is very crucial in terms of web or software development. Then, what is DTO and what can DTO help you do? A DTO is an object that carries data from one part of the system to another. It acts as a container for information. So you know that when you're creating a system, maybe for authentication for a product system, what you need to do here is you need a product ID, you need some password from the user. Maybe if it's an authentication system, you need an ID, you need a password. Now, if you want to show user information, I believe you will never show or you will not show the password to the user, isn't it? Yes, because the password, it is hidden, it must be secret, it must be kept safely, and you don't want to display it to anybody. So in such case, you have to create a DTO to extract the properties that you want to display out to the user. This and many more can be classified as what DTOs. And I'm mapping a complex object to a simple one that is known as using the Automapper. Let's dive right into this within a practical aspect for you to get a concept of this. So I'm going to create a web API project from here. So make sure you have your Visual Studio 2022 launched. Create a project in this. And now with this, I'm going to choose web API. So I'm going to say this is .NET 8. So .NET 8, it is going to be an Automapper and DTOs. Okay, so it's better that I put them on. Now, when I'm done with this, source code will be available at GitHub. So check the video description if you want to grab this to be available in there. Now, let's get this project created. So this is what we're going to do. Since we are not going to implement database for now, this is just to teach you the concept of Automapper and DTO. So I don't see the need to actually get database connection. Okay. But I've made several videos on how to get your database connected and implement other CRUD in it. If you're having an issue with it, do let me know in the comment section and I'll put that video out for you. Okay, so this is what you're going to do. Let's say we're going to have a system and a model, a domain for books. In that, you're going to have a book ID, book title, book author, the year, and the price of the book. Okay, so that's the model that you're going to create. So I have a sample model here created already. So let's go to solution. Then in here, let's create a model for this. So let's add as I want to put it as group it well. So let's say this is models. I know what models are, our entities that we need for database models. Let's add a class for this, and this is going to be book. So within this book, we're going to have a public property, and aside from having this public property, we are going to provide the following as well: the details of the property that we need for each book. We need an ID, the title, the author, the year, and the price. You know this already, isn't it? That's fine. Now once you have this, we are going to create maybe our service. Okay, now this service is going to render a list of books. Then we're going to create our API endpoint to consume this service. So let's right click on this, and now let's add maybe a new folder as well. And now this is going to be services. Let's add a class to this, and we call this book service. So within this book service, we're going to have a list of books. So let's have a public, and this is going to be list of book. We can add the name or the reference. So this is get books. Okay, so within this, maybe this is what we can do. We can first have our book down here, so we can be calling these books anytime that we want. Okay, so we are having this. We have a public, and let's make that as private. So private, this return a list of books, and we're calling it as what? Books. So we saying it's equal to new book. Then we are providing this in here. We can simplify this to make it just new. You can use the new keyword, and that is all. So we need not to use all this. I think this introduce later on, so we can do all these. Now, yeah. So pause the video now, do it yourself. Okay. Yeah, so I'm done with mine. Are you also done? Okay, so here it is asking us to add read only. So yes, maybe we can make it as read only, so we can read only. Okay, and aside from that, what again this can be simplified. So this equal to, we have this, so that's a new one. Yes. Okay, so there's a list that we are creating. So in here, we are now making it in an array form, you see. Then we want to just get this books. So if I call this method get books, we are retrieving the books in here. Okay, now this, we are not going to make it read only. Maybe we can add data to this. Okay, so we have these books. All right, what is the next one? We can be adding. So let's make this as public. Then we want to add a book to this. So also let's make this as public. And now this returns nothing. So this is void. Then we say add book. So with this add book, we pass in this book model, and we say this is book. And in here, what we are saying is books dot add. Then we can now add this book. You see, so we just add a book to this, the list. And maybe when you talk about delete to, we can also perform that. Okay, but for now, let's maintain this what we need in here. Get books, and maybe get book by ID. I think that would be okay. So let's see. We have this also. This is going to return book. Then we say get book by ID. Then we're going to provide the book ID in here. And within this, we can say that it is returning books dot find. So find, we pass in the ID. So here, is it going to get us? Can I convert int to, okay, so to a book? Then we can use books dots. We can use first or default. So dot ID is equal to this ID. Okay, so we can also use this. Okay, so this also get by ID, and we can also delete it. Well, yes, we can do that. Okay, so let's delete, since we have this. So delete by ID, we can just make it in this form. Delete book by ID. So instead of the first, we're going to cut all this from here. They're going to say books dot remove books dot remove. Then in here we can pass in this. So with the remove, we're going to search by the ID, and now when we have it, then we're going to remove it from here. Let's see why we're having this. We need to return. This is going to be void, so we don't need to return. Okay, so this is all that we have in our card within the list that we have in here. Okay, all right, so we have that book service ready. Now let's go to controller, and now let's create a controller for this. So we have a weather forecast already. We're going to modify this weather forecast, and I'll make it book controller. So this is book controller. Yes, I want to modify this. Now we have book controller, and there's going to be an API / book. So let's remove everything from here. Okay, then let's create constructor for this, CTOR. Let's pass in our book service. Now let's inject the service, the control period. We can inject this, and it is ready in here. Okay, so the first one is we want to get all. So HTTP get, and you want to get all books. So get all books, and in here we have a public task. And now this is, we need an, let's provide a list of books. So list of book, then we can include the reference of the model. Then we say get books. So get books in here. Okay, now within here we want to return the service, so we can say books is equal to, then the book service that we have created dot get book method. Okay, so within this, instead of writing it here, we can just return okay with this, and we can use this lambda expression. Okay, then we can now call this and I return. So you see what you're doing, we are just simplifying this. Then we're going to remove this in here, and now let's see. So what you have here, this must be an action result. So we have this action result in here. Then we can pass in a list of books, and in there we are returning a book service dot get books. And here, what is it saying? Since we are not getting this from a database, it is not task, so we can remove the task from here, and it should be action results. So we have get books, we can make this as null. Okay, now let's see get by ID. So let's make a duplicate of this, and we can copy this one, and on top here we need to specify only a book. So a book in here, then we can specify an ID for this. Okay, so once you have this ID, get book, and we have to pass in the same ID, and now get book by ID, we can now pass in by ID, then pass in this ID parameter, and that is it. Okay, then you're going to have delete. So with the delete, you're also going to have the same endpoint, and this will be delete. You see, so we pass in an ID, and now the same, so delete book. Then we can have delete book by ID. Okay, and we pass in the ID in here, and this is not returning anything, right? So this is an action result. So you're not returning anything here. You pass in the ID to this. So this, since this is gonna it's gonna return empty, we have to open a body for this. Then we have to call the service. We call this service, then at the end we can return okay, delete it. Okay, then we have add, so we have to call same, and now that's going to be the post. So instead of having delete, this is going to be post. So we have book. Okay, so add book, then add book. This will be the add book, and now the payload that we are setting here, it is book, and now book. So with this book object, you can now have access to add book endpoint. Then from here we can just pass in this, then we say added. So this is how it's going to work. Okay, so defaultly when you create any system, default way, this is how it's going to be done, isn't it? Yes. Here we haven't implemented DTOs, we haven't implemented Automapper. This is a default one. Let's try it, but before we do that, let's register the service in the program.cs. So we can duplicate this, then we say add scope. So we have book service. Now this is coming from the folder namespace. Let's run this and now check it out. Okay, so the endpoints are ready. Now let's try to get our books. So try this out, execute this, and now let's check this out. So you can see that we have all the details in here, right? From ID 1 up to ID 10. So we have book ID, book title, author, year, and price. That's fine. Let's try to add one data or one book. So we add this book from here. Try this out. We want to have an ID of 11, and let's execute this. It hasn't added, so let's check this out. Or let's get only ID 11 book. Execute this. Yeah, and I can see we have it. We can also delete this. Try this out. Pass in 11, delete it, and it is deleted. When we click on get all books, we might see ID 1 up to 10. That's fine. Okay, but the next question is, when adding data, when adding books, we don't want to be typing book ID. We want the book ID to be self or auto generated. You know, it's an incrementing of 1 1 1 1 1, isn't it? So can we have a way that we can implement this automatically so that the user will not be able or shouldn't be able to type in an ID? The only thing that the user going to provide here is a title, the author, the year, and the price. Is it possible? Yes, it is. That is where the DTO comes in. So a DTO is a data transfer object, and it is used to communicate data from two entities. So here from our data service, our service repo, onto our user UI. Okay, so from between user and the repo or the service. So within this, let's see how to implement this. We must create a class, and on this class, we're going to maintain only these 4 properties. We're going to exclude the ID because the ID is going to be self-generated. So the user do not need to see the ID of the book when adding. He has to see only title, author, year, and price so that he can provide the values for each. And we add the ID automatically. So let's see how to implement it using this DTO. So we're going to create a folder in here. And unless, before we have to stop this, let's create this folder. Now let's name this as DTOs. So with this DTO, we know in DTO we have a request and a response. Request is to add, and a response to receive from the server. Okay, so we're going to create a request DTO. This is request. This request DTO. Now this request DTO, we need only, let's go to the book model, and now here we're going to grab this only title, author, year, and price. We're going to exclude the ID. We go to the request, then in here let's paste this. Okay, now when we paste this, we have to make changes. So we're going to copy this, we go to our book service, and now where we have this add, instead of having this book, we have to change it to what? Request DTO. Let's add the namespace to this. So request DTO, and now here we say it is request DTO. But if I do this, see something, if I add this, it won't get added. Why? See, cannot convert from request DTO to books. You know, we have 2 models here, and you want to convert one to the other. Why it is not possible? That is where the Automapper comes in. So we are going to map these 2 entities. Request DTO has about 4 properties, whilst book has about 5 properties. So when you automap it, it's going to fill up the properties that it sees in the request DTO. It's going to fill up to the original DTO, that is the book DTO, not the book DTO, the book model. You see, the book model has 5 properties, and you bear with me that you and I created it together. It has ID, title, author, and etc. And now the request DTO has only title, author, year, and price. So when you use Automapper, you're going to map these 4 to these 4. Now this is how this Automapper works. It's going to check, look through this whole model, and now check, does the property that it has in it correspond with each here? If it corresponds, then the value that the property has is going to assign to this. So title to title, author to author, year to year, price to price. But when you get to ID, we don't have any property in the request DTO that is called as an ID. So it's going to skip that. So the property that it could not find is going to skip it, it's going to set as not, it's going to skip that one. Okay? So you want to map the title, the author, the year, and the price to this book model. That's the reason why we need to use Automapper here. So Automapper goes with request, it goes with DTOs. Automapper goes with DTOs, or DTOs goes with what? Automapper. So this is supposed to be done. Now how do we implement Automapper in this? It's a package that we can install. So quickly let's go to the solution. I click on dependencies, and I'll go to manage NuGet packages. In this, you're going to install Automapper from Jimmy Bogart. I think so. So click on the browse tab, and now in here let's install Automapper. So we want to install this Automapper.extensions.Microsoft dependency injection by Jim Bogart. So this is what we need to install. Okay, so if it is saying that this package version is duplicated, use Automapper instead. Okay, so we can use the original one here because everything is part of this. We can still inject this anywhere. So let's install this 8.1. Let's click this package and I'll get this installed. Okay, so this package has been installed. If you want to verify, go to solution, dependencies, now packages. You can see we have this Automapper in there. So once you're done, the next thing that we need to do here is to make some configuration. We have to register this. You go to the program.cs file, and then in here, let's register this Automapper. So then we're gonna have add Automapper app domain.current domain.get assemblies. Okay, so it's gonna get all the assemblies that we can use, or the profile that we're gonna create. We're gonna get all of them, and it's going to utilize them in mapping. Okay, the next thing to do here is we have to create mapper profile. So let's create this. So it's very simple. Insert the package, register this, create mapper profile, and off you go. So let's say this is profiles. And now within this folder, we're going to create profile. So let's create a class. And the name here is going to be profile. This profile should supposed to be profile. This should be, let's make it Automapper profile. That's the right thing to do because it has an inbuilt class known as profile. That's where we're going to inherit from. So we don't need to make it profile again. That's going to be an ambiguous. So Automapper profile, now this should inherit from profile. As I said, there is an inbuilt class that it has to inherit from. Okay, now aside from that, we need to create a constructor for this. And now within this constructor, that is where we're going to perform all the magic. So first of all, we're going to create, so you can see create map. And now with this map, take note, it has from what? The destination. So it has T source and a destination. Can you read from this? Source is where the current context that you want to map, and destination is which one do you want to map to. So you want to map from our DTOs. So request DTO, then that's our source, and our destination here, it is what? Book. Okay, so this is a book model. So this is what we are doing. So create, we are mapping from request DTO, that's the source, and then there's a destination. So maybe I can put something here for you. This is source, and that is destination. Okay, so when you come here, after creating this, we go to your service in here, book service. Now let's create constructor in this. So CTOR, then let's inject IMapper. Then we say this is mapper control period. We can create an assigned field. So let's use it, and this is what we're going to do. We're going to extend the body. Okay, so first of all, let's have our book model. Now this book model is equal to the mapper class, the mapper that we injected dot then map. And now with this map, take note, we have the T destination. So the destination here is what? Which one? It is book, and now the source here, it is a request DTO. So now this is going to map this request to this book. It means the 4 properties that we created in the request is going to assign each value to the book, remaining the book ID. How do we get the book ID? So we can have access to, we can call this method, okay, to get all books, or we can even call this method. So we can say that this request DTO, since this is not having, this request DTO is not having an ID, but this book has an ID. So when we are done, it's going to be kept in here, and then we can say that book dot, we can have the ID is equal to books here dot count, you see, then plus plus. So the current count of the book, we're going to add 1 to it. This is done automatically. So let's see why you're having this. So these books here, it is getting a method. Or do you have to? There should be a count method. What do you think? There shouldn't be. Yeah, so maybe we can just make it +1 instead. So you can see we are assigned the book automatically. We get a count from the book list, then we add +1. Then we have this book model. Okay, so after having this book model, then what we're going to do here is we are going to just add. So we say that books dot add, then we can now pass in this book peacefully. Because it is very simple, isn't it? So now you know how to use a request DTO and how to also map it in here. Okay, let's go to how do you get the book. So that's to add. Let's try this out and see first. So you're going to run this. Oh, well, then we have an issue here. So we need to change this. This is request DTO. So this is a request DTO. And it must be book. So I want to change this to also request DTO. Then we have to pass in this request DTO in here. So let's save this. And now let's run this and check it out. Alright, so let's check it out from this book list. So from an endpoint in here, we are going to add, then if I click on that, you see now we have only title, author, year, and then price. Let's click on try this out. We're going to add new one. So we're going to say this is new book. And from the author, we're going to say this is Netcode. Then let's maintain the year as 2001. So let's try this out. Hit on the execute, and now let's see if this is going to be added or not. So we have added, right? Now that's going to be, let's see, that's going to be ID what? Let's have a look. So let's click on get all out and check it out. Do we have it? Yes, because we have ID 11, and if you see the ID is automatically generated. So you can see now we've implemented the DTOs and also the automapper. But the next question is, if I pass in here, check it out. If I pass in get ID, pass in 11. Check it out. So from this 11, I still have the ID. If you want to skip this ID, what can you do? This is very simple. You have to go to, let's say now we have, when you check here, we have our request DTO, so we can have our response DTO, isn't it? So let's create our response DTO in here. And in that response DTO, this is what you want to do. You want to combine the title and maybe the author. Okay? You want to remove the ID, then you want to display the title and also, or maybe the title and now the year. Okay? So you want to combine these two. Okay, so I'm going to copy this. We don't need the ID. Let's grab this. Then we have to go to our DTOs. And this is going to be a response DTO. So let's create a class for this. Before that, let's stop this. And our response is respond from the service to a user. So that's a response DTO. Let's create a class. And this will be a response DTO. Now this response DTO, this is what you want to do. We want to have the title, okay, the title, the author, the year, and now the price. So from this, we are not going to, you see this one, we are not going to display the year. We want to display the year against the title. Okay, So we're going to remove this from here. You can clear all this. Okay, can make this as nullable from this end. So the title and year, that's what we're going to do. So we can add title and year. So you were going to display the title and also the year here. So after doing this, what is the first thing to do, or the next thing to do, is to go to your profile. Then you're going to now create. So let's copy this. So here, you know that we're going to create. So it's going to be from your book. Your book to what? That is your response. Response DTO. So here we have from and now to. So from books, we are mapping to what? That's the response DTO. That is the source, and that's the destination. Okay, good. So once you have this created, the next to do here is, let's go to our service, and where we are getting this book list, we are going to remove all this, or let's maintain it and now perform it in the get by ID. So with this, we are going to put it in a code block. So we can just grab this. Let's say this is the book that we are looking up for. So we've searched for this. The book is here. Now when we are done, we need to create this book, isn't it? So let's convert it. Let's map it. So this is map book is equal to then map.map. Now this map, it is destination here. It is what? Destination is what? Response DTO, and this is a source. So we are mapping from this book to this map book. Now when you check this response DTO, we have title and year, author and price. We're going to have properties against the author and price. Title and year are not going to be assigned. Why? Let's first have a look. Then I'll explain the reason why that is happening. So when we are done, we can then return map book. But you see, you have an error here because we cannot convert that. So what you need to do here is, this must be a response DTO, because the state that is returning here is a response DTO, so it must sync with the name. Now let's go to the endpoint and also do same. So from get by ID, instead of having get by ID, where is it? Get by ID. Yes, instead of having this, is supposed to be even a list, or is it a list? Look at this. So we have this get by ID, and now this is not even a list. This is just a book. You see this? I believe you've done it right. You've corrected this, and that's great. So this is just a list, but here we need to change to request or response DTO because it is returning a response DTO. Now let's save this, let's run this, and now check it out. You're going to have two properties being assigned, but the title and the year is going to be left out. Let's go in there and now get a book by ID. So within 1 to 10 or 1 to 10, we can pass in any. Let's pass in 8 and check it out. Try this, execute this, and you can see title and year, it is null. Author, we have the author, we have the price, isn't it? Let's pass in ID 1. Then the same thing. Why? Do you have any idea? Yes. The question is, what is it, the question or the answer? The answer is title and year, it is not found. So when it is mapped out, when the profile is been profiling and when it is checking up mapping through the models or the models properties, in the book, do you have any title and a year together? No, we don't. So it's going to map it directly to what it has in here. So this is an exceptional one. So we have to configure an exceptions. Okay. So how do you configure an exceptions? It's very simple. Let's go to the book service in here. Now with the book service, check it out. Here, we go to the profile. And now where we are creating this, we're going to map from the source, from the model to the DTO, right? So with this, we need to specify the exceptions. Now this exception is we want to add the title and now the year together. Okay, so this is what you want to do from this angle. You can configure this by using a simple line of code to handle this. What are we doing here? When you check this, we are saying that for member. So which member are we talking about? That is the destination. Okay, this is the source and that's the destination. For destination, that's why we call this DST, stands for destination. We want to get the property known as title and our year. Get that property from it and map from. So we are mapping. We are doing an explicit mapping. Map from. Now we have the source. The source has these properties, title and our year. So combine them and now assign to destination. Destinations, title and year property. So when you have two or more, you can just configure this with that format. Because it is very simple, right? So the first thing I need to do here is to specify the property that you want to assign or you want to work on within your destination. Aside from that, specify an option, and that's going to be the source. Now the source here, assign the current or the required property that you want to assign to the destination's property. Then have to work on that. Very simple one. Okay, so now this is ready. Let's go to the book service. And now from this book service, we go to get books or even get by ID. Okay, so this get by ID is going to pick this automatically since we are using a request DTO in here. And we've created a profile for this. So let's save this. And now let's see if we can rerun this and now check it out. Okay, so get by ID. Try this out. Let's pass in 1. And now we still have the title and then the year as what now. Okay, so let's maybe need to do small settings in here to get it completed. Alright, so the small settings that we need to do here is to restart the application since we have created a profile. We've worked on the profile, and this profile needs to be configured in the program.cs, that's the startup file. So we need to reload this application. So click on this to reload the project, and now let's see it is going to work automatically for us since we have a response DTO being used in here. Alright, so let's check it out. It's open. Now let's try this out, passing the ID of 5. And now let's execute this. And you must have it. So you can see we have Charlotte, and we have web, and it's 1952. So you can see we have title, author, and then price. Let's pass another one. I'm going to pass in 10. Execute this. And we have the same thing, 1990. So this is working, isn't it? Yeah, so one last thing that I'm going to show you guys here, it is also the reverse map. What does this reverse map do? Let's see. You know, when you check our DTOs, we created two DTOs, request and our response. Let's assume request is in the different name altogether. Maybe it's a general DTO. And with this, we have the title, the author, the year, and the price. If you want to get all details, excluding the ID, it means you want to have the same properties as this. Then we can just make it as reverse type. So let's see, from here, you go to your profile, your mapper profile, where is it? And now here, you know, here we are converting from the source to destination. So there's a source in here. We are converting from DTO to book model. Now if you want to convert from book model to DTO with the same format, then it's better that you do dot reverse. So reverse map. So this is going to turn this upside down. You're going to put this here and I'll put this here. So it's going to exchange the location, the position of these models. Okay. Now how do you do this? Let's go to the book service, and where we have this list, okay, we want to return request DTO. So DTO, we want to request, not we want to request, we want to return request DTO. So it means you have to clear this off. Now in here, what can you do? We're going to use an Automapper to map it in here. So what you're going to do here is you're going to have map book. This is books, right? So this equal to, we're going to use the mapper dot map. Now this map, we're going to provide a list first. Okay, so let's provide this list of, we need a list of, is it this books or request DTO? We need request DTO. Okay, because that's what you are mapping up to. So map what? List of request DTO. This is going to be the destination, and where is going to be the source? Books. So these books are going to be the source. Okay, you can just call this book directly, or you can call this get. We even have this, so we have to call these books. And these books here, it is a list of books that we have in here, and the model here is what? Book. But here, since we created a reverse map, it means it's going to map, turn upside down from the source to destination. And this time the source is going to be the entity itself, destination is going to be the DTO. So with this, what can we do? We can return map books. So let's return map books. And now let's grab this. We go to the controller from here, where we have all books. Instead of this, we're going to change to a request DTO. Although it shouldn't have been request here, it should be a different name, because request here is what? Sending to database or sending to the service. But you are rather retrieving it, so it should have been request response, or maybe general one. Okay, this is just for a purpose test for you to get the concept. Okay, now that is all. This is very simple. So now let's rerun this application and now check this one out. So you can see that you're going to have all lists excluding the IDs, because we are using this request that you created, and the request model has no ID inclusive. Okay, so let's try this out from the book or books. Click on this, try this out, execute. Now let's see. Oh yeah, that's fine. So you can see we did not have IDs. We have the title, the author, and IDs are out. Yes, they are out. And when you check the profile, we did nothing different. All that we did was to do what? Yes, to add reverse map. And it's going to reverse this. So it's going to change the position of this. This is going to be source, and this is going to be destination. Okay, and that is all. So if you have a method or a model that, or a DTO that you want to maintain the state for both a request and a response, then it's better that you give it a unique name, a generalized name, so that you can use it both in a request and a response. Not like what I've done. What I've done is a bad example. Okay, you cannot use request DTO as a response DTO. No, it doesn't make this clear. But I want to show you something here. That's why I use that. Okay, so do not follow this step. It's very bad. All right, so I think this video has actually helped you a lot to understand Automapper, how to configure it, how to create DTOs, and how to work with it. You know, Automapper goes with DTO. So anytime that it comes to your mind to create your Automapper, to create DTO, don't forget to add Automapper. You can also create a generic one. Okay, so maybe when I have time, I'm going to have a video done on how to create an Automapper generic one. If you don't want to use this package, and you want to customize your own, then you can also do that. I'll look away and I'll try to have a simple video for that. Alright, so that's the end for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm going to catch you up in the next video. Till then, take care.